Yo, hello, welcome back to another update video of the game Super Auto Pets. The devs have tweeted a very interesting thing. They released some stats of the popularity of the animals in the game. So you are right now looking at pack 1 popularity, and basically the more light the color is, the more popular the animal is, basically. So keep one thing in mind, the later you are in the game, the more units are in the shop. So it definitely feels like that this thing isn't really regarded for in this kind of overview, because as you can see, all tier 1 units are like pretty light here in the first rounds, and I think these are the rounds where they were getting picked. So for example, the otter is getting picked in the round 14 here a bit more often than in round 10, for example, which is kind of curious, and I think this kind of overview is really interesting to look at. So let me basically run down everything what we see here. So what the two most picked tier 1 animals are ant and fish, especially in the beginning, that's for sure, and I think that's not a real surprise. Duck is also like pretty light here, so yeah, those three are probably the strongest here. In tier 2, you can see Swan being like up there. Dog and Dodo are also nothing to sneeze at here. Really interesting to see also that Elephant, Hedgehog, Rat and Shrimp are not getting picked that well. And especially Crab. I am really wondering about that. I thought the Crab would get played much more. In the tier 3 category, Kangaroo, Snail, Turtle, well, I mean, these are like pretty obvious to me. I found it very interesting that the kangaroo is getting picked so often here. And the rabbit, blowfish and badger are the ones which never get picked that much. Tier 4, real quick, monkey and rooster, basically skunk, squirrel, worm are not getting picked that well. And the really crazy thing, would you look at cow? The cow is getting picked so often. Yeah, sure, you have always, if you have a slot open, you always buy a cow if you see one, that's for sure. Scorpion, shark and turkey are getting picked also quite a lot. Crocodile, parrot, rhino not as much, and especially also not seal. And yeah, snake and tiger in tier 6. These are like, this is really interesting to see. I also got this for the expansion pack. Give me a sec. And this is for the expansion pack. It pretty much looks the same regarding the cow, the swan gets picked even more here. The bluebird gets also picked quite often. This is really interesting. But yeah, the T-Rex is getting picked like crazy. Like in turn 14, everyone who sees a T-Rex obviously buys it. So this is interesting. I don't want to dive that deep into this. I just wanted to show you. So if you want to have a deep look on that, I will link the post on Twitter by the devs in the description for you to read it for yourself. But the really interesting thing is that they released in Discord some update notes for the next update. Again, this update is not yet out, and all these changes they have posted are obviously subject to change. So if the update actually eventually hits, it's not guaranteed that these things, which I'll show you in a second, will actually be released as well. But I wanted to have a look over that too with you, so let me jump into Discord. Okay, and we are in Discord. Let's get into it. Rework. They removed Tiger. This is a big one. This is a really big one, and I think this is a quite interesting choice because the Tiger was pretty good and it made those quite a lot of lineups which were good already even more good. Unfortunately, they really hurt Hedgehog with this as well. So the Hedgehog was not really viable, and now the Hedgehog is even less viable. Added boar to pack 1 and 2, that is tier 6, and 10-2 with ability before attack, gain +2/+2. So whenever that boar attacks, it gets +2/+2 before it attacks. This is really interesting, and I see a lot of possibilities to actually abuse this. So first thing which jumps into mind is obviously Melon Armor. If you put Melon Armor on it, you are guaranteed that it will buff itself. The real downside I see with this is that it's a more or less build around unit. So you want to definitely support that one if you're actually playing Boar. But Boar is tier 6, so it comes in very late, and you are probably already set regarding your centerpiece for your lineup. We will have to see, but my prediction is tier C, something like that. They changed Poodle to tier 5 and Microbe to tier 4. Poodle was tier 4 before and Microbe was tier 5, so they changed both of these, which I think is weird because it helps the Microbe definitely, and it could mean that the Microbe is more viable now, and it probably actually will mean that. Before that it was actually not playable, but I think with this it could be actually playable now. But the Poodle is now like really trash. The Poodle needed a workaround before already, and now the Poodle is coming in 2 turns later. This really hurts your build. I don't think that the Poodle is any good anymore. They did quite a lot more, so they changed the red to 1/1 and changed the Dirty Red ability to be summoned, deal 3 damage to friend ahead. That actually means is that whenever the Dirty Red actually gets summoned, it deals 3 damage to the friend ahead in the opposing lineup. So you cannot put the red in front anymore because it will actually die and the opponent won't die because the red is a 1/1 and the Dirty Red won't get summoned at all. So if you put the red later, whenever it died, it then spawns and deals 3 damage to the last opponent, which can be quite nice, especially like really early. I think the red is actually now viable for 1 or 2 turns. Nothing you're gonna keep at all though, so yeah, we will have to see about that. But I think the red is now not too bad. I think I see a tier B here. Change Spider ability to summon pet with the same level. So this is a straight up buff, so this is now pretty good actually. If it actually, as a level 2, spawns a turtle, when it dies, the turtle now will also be a level 2 and will now provide 2 melon armor. This is kinda good. The spider is now actually not that bad anymore. I think that does actually quite a lot of change. But it's not tier A. I also see a tier B. I think I like this change. This one could be really well balanced in my eyes, because the randomness of it like really takes away some of the power of that. Chain Squirrel ability to also discount shop. So now I'm really wondering like how much is the discount there? If the discount is now 1 gold, so every food the squirrel spawns is costing like 2 gold, I think that would be fair. A lot of guys propose this change and I quite like it. This could be good. If you're actually, I mean obviously if you're playing a food build, you're really happy about getting a squirrel, but you still need a slot in your lineup. You still want to probably sell your squirrel the same turn as you're playing it. And what that means is that you still have to reroll once to now get a unit again to fill in that empty slot where the squirrel once was. I think you can play squirrel in some scenarios and in some you just can't. And I think that's a quite nice design. Squirrel B tier. Now rabbit, it changed the ability to also trigger on itself. So whenever itself eats shop food, it also gives himself +1 health. I don't think that's doing any change at all. I don't think I'm going to play rabbit more than before, so I still don't play rabbit. Still trash, I think. Not sure, but I think still trash. Wait, hold up. I think because the food is more viable now than before, and you will see later why, I actually think the rabbit will actually see more play than before. But the rabbit itself still seems kind of bad, but only the case because food is now a bit better than before, makes the rabbit more playable than before. So not trash, but maybe C or B tier. Next, goat. So before it was a 4/5, so it gained 1 HP and you would only get 1 gold per friend bought. Now you would get 1, 2 or 3 depending on the goat's level, I guess. But it all has 3 charges. Before that, the charges were the one thing which were increasing with the level of the goat. So yeah, this is a straight up buff because those 9 charges per turn. Before on level 3 you would never get that basically. 3 charges for 3 gold on level 3 is pretty strong. I could see myself playing gold more than before, sure. But it's really hard to put a finger on it. Is it? It seems pretty strong. It seems like A tier, but it could be still trash. Well, it wasn't really trash before, let's be honest, but I didn't really get around of playing it that well. So, well, I say A tier. I can be so wrong with that. Change sauropod ability to give 1 to 3 gold and have 3 charges. So the same with the gold, and the ability before was the same as with the gold as well. So yeah, straight up buff to this one as well. Is it good though? I don't think so. I don't think so. It probably still C tier or B tier because you don't buy food that often later on because you just don't find much good food in a shop. Change chicken ability to give +1/+2. Before it gave +1/+1. I am so amazed by that change because that chicken was really good before. I think a lot of guys slept on it, but it was kind of strong before. Now it's even stronger. Yeah, we will see chicken a lot, I think. A tier. They changed Tabby Cat to 2/3 and ability to give +2 attack until end of turn. The Tabby Cat before had 4/3. Interesting. They nerfed its stats, but now the ability gives +2 attack until end of turn instead of +1. I still think the Tabby Cat is not good. I mean, that early this +2 attack is quite nice. So, okay, B tier. B tier at a first glance. Change lobster ability to give +3/+3. Is that change enough to make the lobster viable? Because before it gave +2/+2 on level 1. Honestly, the lobster was basically unpickable before, and the +1/+1 buff on level 1, I mean, that's a difference, but I think the lobster is still unpickable basically, because the huge drawback by the lobster is you have to buy a unit and put it into an empty slot, and you just don't do that so often. And the lobster in your lineup itself is a drawback because of the weak stats, and only if you buy a complete new animal, the lobster will buff it. And the +3/+3 on that, the difference to before is not great enough to actually make the lobster viable, so I still think it's trash, unfortunately. Next, Crocodile. Crocodile to 8/4 and ability to deal 8 damage. Before, it dealt 7 damage and had a set line of 6/3, so that's a straight up buff and a well needed buff. I think the Crocodile didn't really make that much of a difference, and it still probably won't, but now the stat line is a bit better, so B tier instead of C tier. Next, they changed the horse to 2/1. I just recently did a video explaining why the horse is bad, and the horse is still bad, although it now gained 1 attack. A horse with a set line of 1/2 though would be kinda good now. So, nothing of these things ever changed, but if we now put a 2 in, it obviously gets quite a significant buff in our sheet, and I would actually think this doesn't really make a difference, because this way of looking at things is a bit skewed, because it has 5 attack with 3 triggers, overall 5 attack and still 1 HP. It dies way too quick. I don't think that it's any good. I don't think it will do any difference. I think that 1 HP on the other hand would have done quite a lot of change. But no. I think with this the horse is still kinda bad. Maybe not D tier anymore, maybe C tier. Okay, so I had to postpone the recording to the next morning because I was running out of time, so excuse my morning voice. I had 1 coffee and I'm just having my second one, and my voice should be fine in a second. So let's get it on with. Next up, the shrimp. They changed it to 2/3 instead of 2/1, which I find really odd because the shrimp wasn't that bad before, I think. The shrimp was B tier mainly because of cycling strats, but it had its place in the meta and was definitely fine. I really don't know why they changed it. Well, probably because of the popularity of it, or the not existing popularity of it. I actually don't think that this change will do a lot different, because the shrimp was never there to fight in the first place. So I think it won't change the shrimp whatsoever. Giraffe. The giraffe now is a 2/5. The giraffe before was a 1/3. So that change that's quite a nice change, I think, because the effect by the giraffe isn't so bad. It's also not that good. +1/+1 isn't really a deal breaker, but the giraffe always died to everything with its stats of 1-3 before. So a 2-5 stat line definitely busted Giraffe a bit, and I think when the Giraffe was D tier before, which is pretty harsh in my eyes, it's at least C tier now. Maybe B tier. I think B tier could be a nice place. Next, they changed Swan to 3-3. It was a 3-4 before. The Swan was really popular before, and I think 1 HP less won't do any difference. I think the Swan will still be A tier because that 1 gold it gives. Well, you could slot in Swan for, I don't know, everything basically, because it gave you 1 gold every turn. This is insanely good. And it had a nice stat line on top of it with 3-4 in tier 2. A tier 2 with a 3-3 stat line isn't so bad either. So I think actually that this one will definitely have no change in the meta at all. And I don't think that the change will do anything. They changed Skunk to 3-6. It was a 3-5 before. I don't know, the Skunk wasn't so popular before. I don't think that this will change anything because in tier 4, those dry stat lines don't really change the game that much anymore. To really change an animal, you have to change more than just 1 HP. The Skunk had quite a lot in parentheses HP before already, so 1 HP on top of that doesn't really does any difference. 1 attack, on the other hand, on top of it would have been quite nice, but that 1 HP probably won't change anything. For me, the Skunk is still B tier because you can definitely pick it. You still need to have it at least at level 2, and at level 3 it's really strong, no questions about that, but I don't think that this change will change anything. They changed the worm to 2-2. Also with this, same thing, I don't think that will change the worm at all, but in this case I actually like where this is going. I think the weakness of the worm is that it comes in so late and that you buy a 1-1. So that's a huge drawback as soon as you pick it up actually. So one thing would be either putting it at tier 3, which they once had way back in the days, and that was really busted because now that worm was available so early in the game. That was really busted and they needed to nerf that. So they put it at tier 4 where it is right now. So now they start to buff the worm. I think this is a nice direction to go because going back to tier 3 would be a mistake, but the initial stats of the worm definitely need to be higher. And in my eyes, higher than 2-2 because I think this change doesn't do that much too. So if the worm would be a 3-3 or 4-4, we would start talking here, but a 2-2 probably won't do it that much. But we will have to force worm at some point and we'll see how it will play out. Maybe this is enough, maybe this is even enough, I'm really not sure. In my eyes, still D tier, maybe C tier. Next, they changed Llama to 3-6, it was 2-5 before, it has gotten +1/+1. Yeah, nice change. Still bad though. The Llama has a completely different problem than its stats. The problem of the Llama is that it's really slow and buff of its stats doesn't change the inherent problem of it. So what I would have done to keep it at tier 4 and probably would change the buff. I would have made it so it gained +3/+3. In that case, it will scale a bit better because having only 4 animals is a huge drawback, and the Llama definitely needs to cancel out some of that drawback, and right now it just doesn't, and with +1/+1 it still won't. So Llama is still D tier in my eyes. Next, the Rhino. They changed it to 5-8. Before it was a 5-6. I actually really like this change. I think this will actually do a difference because well, not sure. The weakness of the Rhino is that the damage it shoots is usually not enough that late in the game. So you really have to level up the Rhino really early in order for it to really get it going. But to help him out, staying a bit longer on the field with 2 more HP definitely changes something. I think this will bump the Rhino from C tier to B tier in my eyes. You can now definitely pick it up more often than not. Or more often than before, at least. They changed the seal to 3.8. Same thing here. I don't think that this will change much, because the seal also has a different problem. Same with the llama. The inherent buff the seal provides whenever it swallows food, it's not good enough to actually pick up the seal. And 2 more HP to a unit which isn't really there to fight at all is just not gonna cut it. I think the seal is still D tier, but we will see about that. But I mean, 8 HP for a tier 5 is not too shabby. In my eyes, the seal is still trash. They changed the parrot to 6.4. Before it was a 3.2, which is a huge buff to the stat line of the parrot. And I really like it. This actually does make the parrot kind of viable, because the effect is, I think, quite good already, but the parrot didn't really have a use case in this meta before, because there was the tiger, and the tiger was just a better parrot in almost every case. But now, with the tiger gone and the parrot buffed, this is really interesting. I could see that the parrot is now the new tiger, and it could be broken. It actually could be broken, because the tiger was tier 6, the parrot is a tier 5. The parrot now has a better stat line than the tiger. Well, the effect of the parrot in comparison to the tiger is a bit weaker. In most cases, it actually doesn't do a difference. For example, if you place a parrot behind a turkey or place a tiger behind the turkey, it usually doesn't make a difference at all. The only thing actually is that if you have that turkey on level 2 and you place a tiger behind that, you would double that effect still. But if you place a level 1 parrot behind a level 2 turkey, that parrot will only provide its buff, which it copied from the turkey, as a level 1 turkey, you know? So that's the inherent difference between the tiger and the parrot in my eyes. And I actually think there's quite a huge difference and should not be ignored here. So the parrot might be the new tiger, it might be stronger, but it might be balanced, because on one hand the parrot is available 2 turns sooner than the tiger, but on the other hand, effect by the parrot is just straight up weaker than the tigers. Really curious about that, but I would assume parrot is the new tiger, so probably S tier. And that's a hot take, I know. Next, they changed the gorilla to 6.9. It was 6.6 before, and I really like this change, because the gorilla really needed some way to survive one hit, basically, to get it going, and 3 HP help with that, definitely. And I would actually think this makes the gorilla maybe even viable. I would place it at C to B tier. But the gorilla still is a workaround animal which comes in very late, so this is by design quite a huge drawback. But the stats are really good, and the effect by itself is also really good, so really curious about that. It changed the leopard to 10.4. This is really huge, and I really don't know why they did that. Was the leopard so unpopular before? Because in my eyes it actually wasn't that much. I thought the leopard was pretty balanced actually, and now they buffed it, so it's not only 4 attack on it, but they actually with it indirectly buffed its effect as well. It's not only 4 attack more in the fight, but also 2 damage more the leopard shoots by default. I think the leopard is now A tier, at least. It changed the mammoth to 3.10. I don't think that will change anything. The mammoth is designed to die, and it's not really designed to fight, and it still probably won't fight. With a stat line of 3.10 in the late game, you don't really pack a punch that well, so I don't think that will change anything. Pulling a mammoth is still the play to go here. So yeah, those were the buffs to the existing animals, and we got some nerfs. They changed the dog ability to give +1 health to shop pets. Before the dog gave +1/+1, now it only gives 1 health, so this changes everything. And this nerfed the dog in my eyes to unplayable margins in my eyes. I think the dog is now trash. It has a bad stat line, and the +1 health doesn't do that much of a difference. +1 attack would have been nicer, because you want to pick up a dodo maybe in the shop when you sold your dog, and now that 1 attack is missing, so this kind of does quite a lot. I don't think that the duck is playable right now in this state. Next, change fish ability to give +1 health to all friends. This change though, I kinda like. I think the fish was pretty strong before. Now, taking away that +4 attack the fish usually gave to all of its friends is a nice nerf to get the fish more in line. Now, the fish might still be A tier, probably more B tier, but it's still, I think, an animal you love to pick up early. Because the actual really strong thing about the fish was its stat line of 2-3. That effect is a nice cherry on the top, which is now half a cherry, which is totally fine. And I think this will get the fish in line with the other. Next, they changed the rooster to 5-3, which is a straight up buff, because before it was a 3-5, and the ability to inherit 50% attack instead of 100%. Yeah, and this is a nerf, definitely. But I think this nerf is quite good. I think the rooster was pretty strong before, and now the rooster will still spawn a lot of chicks, and I think still that turkey and rooster on a high level together is a pretty nice play. Now it's more in line again, so I think half the attack of the rooster on the chicks it spawns is quite a nice nerf actually. I think the rooster is now B tier or maybe even still A tier because it can spawn these chicks, and this is quite a nice thing in the late game just because of turkey. So yeah, I do like this change, and I would say rooster is, well, I've put rooster in S tier I think in my tier list lately, but now it probably went down one tier. Change crab ability to trigger on buy. Yeah, the crab now probably is not worth much. This is kind of interesting. Now, buying multiple crabs is actually a nice way to go, because what you can do is basically have a crab, and then that crab maybe has like 6 HP or 7 HP because it copied from another friend of yours. And later you see another crab in the shop, but at that point you have like a 12-12 unit on your board. So you can then place the crab behind that 12-12 and combine it with your existing one. You need obviously multiple slots for it, but that's quite a nice design to motivate people to buy multiple crabs. Because before you probably never combine crabs because you just don't need it to. I do like this design quite a lot. I don't think that it's that strong though, so I would say like crabs probably B tier, maybe. Okay, so the next two changes are about the fly. So they changed the fly ability to trigger 3 times per battle, and they changed the token to 4-4. Before the token had a 2-2, and now it has a 4-4, so that's quite a nice change. And how often would you actually spawn a fly in that very well-known fly, tiger, turkey lineup? I think in that lineup you would actually probably spawn like 5, maybe 6. Now you can only spawn 3. So this is quite a nerf to the fly, which I'm actually kind of astonished by, because I didn't think that the fly was so broken. But the buff to the fly tokens itself does actually make quite a difference, I think. Well, does it really? Does it really? I think it actually nerfed the fly, and it's now less viable than before, but not by much, because the buff to the token actually kind of does something, I think. Well, I think that whole strat either way is kind of not good anymore, because they removed tiger. So we will have to see about that. And just because they removed tiger, I would have thought this is a big enough nerf to the fly already. But they nerfed it even more, so maybe it's not even viable anymore. Maybe it's still viable because of the 4-4 tokens. We will have to see. In my eyes, if we have to bet on money, I would actually think fly is still B tier. Change the T-Rex ability to give +1/+1 instead of +2/+2, and also target itself. Totally fair. Probably not that good anymore. Instead of +8/+8, it now buffs for +5/+5. Well, I think this is kind of fair. I think this is kind of nice. And on level 2, it would have buffed +16/+16. And now it only buffs for +10, +10. I think this is in line. I think this makes the T-Rex a B tier, probably. You are spending 3 gold for a +5, +5. Is this good? Yeah, this is probably really good still. T-Rex still A tier? I think it's still viable, but it's more in line again. So I think kudos, this change, I really like it. Next, and this really hurts, change Dodo to 2-3. It was 1-3 before, so that's a buff to the attack, but it only gives 33%, 66, and 100%, which is a huge nerf, and the Dodo now probably is too bad to play. I actually thought the nerf to the Dodo before, from buffing multiple targets to a multiplier on one target, was a beautiful change, which still kept the Dodo like in the meta, and it was still a meta play, but it never was so broken. And now they actually really nerfed it by a lot. So I'm not a fan of this, unfortunately. I think the Dodo is now trash. You can't. Oh, can you pick it? Is it that bad? I think it actually is. It's probably C tier. It's not trash. It's not trash. It's just a bit bad now. And this really hurts to see. Well, maybe it will actually, yeah, maybe it will actually bring a new feeling to the game, because the Dodo is now pretty much unpickable. And if you nerf the stronger stuff, the weaker stuff indirectly gets better because it's now more viable. So like things like peacock, elephant, camel are like maybe the new meta. This could be actually the case. This hurts. Rip Dodo. Change Turkey 3-7 and ability to give +2/+2. Now this one also really hurts. The Turkey was a 3-4 before, now it's a 3-7. This is weird, but okay. And it gave +3/+3 before. So with the missing tiger, with the fly not being able to trigger more than 3 times per battle, and now the Turkey only giving +2/+2, that strat now is completely gone in my eyes. I don't think we will see a spawner that much anymore. This is so hard. I would have loved the Turkey to be available sooner than tier 5 or turn 9. And yeah, to have its effect definitely nerfed more. So in that case, the spawner, I mean, the problem with spawner was like you didn't know that you were playing spawner up until turn 9 if you get a Turkey early. I would have loved for the spawner strategy to, yeah, be available sooner, but to be weaker. And now it's weaker, but it's not available sooner. So I don't know. I don't think that we will see Turkey that much anymore. It's definitely not S tier anymore, that's for sure. That's hard to decide, but I would actually say Turkey is probably B tier or C tier. The Turkey needed tiger, now the tiger is gone. But the Turkey now can use parrot too. If you play parrot Turkey, you would buff for +4/+4 whenever a token gets spawned. So if you play rooster on level 2, for example, you would buff those chicks +4/+4, but those chicks were nerfed as well because here. So this is overall not that good anymore. What they actually did was like indirectly buffing the bison and hippo and stuff like that by so much, because they have taken away other strategies. Now pack 1 pretty much seems like pack 2, where stats are king. Changed puppy ability to cost 3 gold. Yeah, the puppy now is probably not viable anymore, is it? Now the puppy ability is a pair. Yeah, this is too bad. This is too bad to play. I think now the puppy is unplayable. The puppy ability before was pretty good because you had to pay 2 gold to get a pair on the puppy. And overall, if you see a pair in the shop, do you take it? Definitely not every turn. So with the puppy on the board, you have to basically, in parentheses, pick a pair every turn for 3 gold. And this kind of hurts your economy quite a lot, and that +2/+2 on the puppy definitely is not good enough. I think the puppy is trash. Well, is it trash? It's probably more in line with the worm now. C tier? Probably C tier. Change milk to give +1/+2. Yep, I like this change a lot. I think this is totally fair. I think the cow was really busted before, especially with cat, and now it's still really good, but it's not busted anymore. Is it still S tier? It could be. Actually, it could be, because if you buy cow and sell it again, you would still have a buff of +2, +4, while before you had a buff of +4, +4, which was really good, not gonna lie. I think the cow is A tier instead of S tier. They changed the dog to 1-1. I don't think that will change anything. The cycling strat is still online. -1 on the dog, this doesn't matter. If you have played cycling yourself or have watched my videos where I played cycling, you will definitely know that this won't change anything. Change Caterpillar to 1-3. By the way, about the dog, I think if they really wanted to nerf dog, they needed to put it at tier 3 and give it more stats. So like 4 for a dog on tier 3 with the same ability, because then you would actually make the dog slower because it comes in later. Change Caterpillar to 1-3. It was 1-4 before, and the Caterpillar never cared about stats at all, so I don't think this will change anything, but I actually think that the Caterpillar was pretty much balanced, so I don't have a problem with that change at all, because I don't think that this will change anything. And next, the Kangaroo. They changed it to 1-2, so -1 on the Kangaroo, which I just really don't get, because I didn't think that the Kangaroo was so good. Okay, now it's even less good. Yeah, Kangaroo is pretty much not pickable anymore, is it? Well, maybe that -1, it still fills in the same role. It's probably now more in line with the Ox, which also fills in the same role. This is kind of interesting, actually. I would say the Kangaroo is still B tier, but now low B tier instead of high B tier. They changed Monkey to 1-2, and Monkey was a 3-3. The fact that the Monkey still will buff a lot is quite nice, and I think the stat change of the Monkey is fair, because the Monkey was pretty strong, but in my eyes the Monkey actually didn't need a change that much, and this stat change doesn't change the Monkey that much either, because you pick the Monkey because of its effect and not because of its stats. So nerfing the stats is probably fair. I will definitely still pick Monkey as much as I did before, so still A tier. Change Poodle to 2-2. A nice thing about Poodle actually was it's quite nice statline. I like that 4-2 statline of the Poodle. Actually didn't pick Poodle that often, because in Pack 2 you are running quite a lot of tier 3 animals usually, and the Poodle obviously likes when different tiers of animals are in your lineup. So was the Poodle really A tier before? Maybe. Between A and B tier. Now the Poodle is definitely B tier, lower B tier. And there you have it. This was this is huge. This is such a huge change to the game. I am really curious, and my take is the cycling strat is still really strong, and in Pack 1 and in Pack 2 you really need to have raw stats, because stuff like Dodo is now missing and stuff like spawners are now missing. So yeah, what do you think about these changes to the game? Are you a fan of it or not? I am really torn on that. I think they actually did quite a good job. I think they changed too much. So well, obviously some changes won't change anything, so they can be ignored more or less. But overall, those changes they actually did here are still too much to actually have a fair assessment on how the game will actually feel like from now on. Okay, but just in case you're confused, this update is not yet out, as I said in the beginning. So we might have to wait a bit on that until the release of this update, and also all things I discussed are subject to change, because we will never know if the devs actually change something up before they actually roll out the update. So yeah, keep this please in mind. Please. This update is not yet live, and the update may come out differently than we talked about today. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and enjoy my end card. As always, if you like this video, never tell me or your friends, and also please never share this around. Also, please make sure to not like this video. If you want to see more content like this, definitely don't subscribe to my channel and never check out this video displayed over here. See you in the next video. I'm out.